Ready with me to hang out with the boy that opened my message in a bottle 9 years ago. This sounds like a joke, but it's 100% true, and somebody needs to buy the movie rights because someone needs to do something with this. I was 16, a sophomore in high school. I did a semester at sea on a sailboat with 6 other students, a captain, and like 2 mates. The trip started in the Dominican Republic, and then we were gonna sail up the coast to Rhode Island over like a 6-week period. They took our phones for the trip, and we were doing our schoolwork and sailing and like learning the ocean, all that stuff. This is what the boat looked like. 16-year-old me in the Bahamas. So we had a really long stretch of sailing between the Dominican Republic and the Bahamas. It was like 5 days. There was no wind. Everyone was miserable, hungry, tired, all that stuff. So one of the mates was like, let's entertain ourselves and do messages in a bottle. I wrote mine about what I learned from living at sea and what I used to take advantage of at home. This was us writing the messages in bottles. Mine's one with the yellow over the cap. Exposing myself and showing you what it said. You can pause and read it. Here's the back side. It literally ends with, thank you for listening to me vent, Anna. And I like spelled my name wrong. We threw our bottles in between the Dominican Republic and the Bahamas, and then went on with the trip. We tagged turtles, blah, blah, blah. Weeks later, I was back at home in Rhode Island going to school again. 2 months after throwing the bottle, I get a handwritten letter delivered to my school, because that's the address I used, because I wasn't going to throw my family under the bus like that, from an 18-year-old offshore fisherman boy. He found the bottle 30 some miles off the coast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. So he spotted it in the water, told his fishing crew, let's grab that, opened it, read the letter. This was their catch of the day. My bottle and all of those fish. That was their day. He wrote me a whole letter about how he totally understands everything that I was going through and how he like resonates with it, basically. Long story short, we end up connecting on social media, and I'm like, my family goes to the Outer Banks. That's where I am right now. We go to the Outer Banks every summer since I was a baby. Before I was even born, they were doing it. I was like, oh my God, I could actually meet him if I wanted to. I go there all the time. And all the people at my school, my headmaster, the captain, my friends, they were all like, no, don't do it. That's weird. You could get kidnapped. It's so sketchy. Like, don't do that. So they scared me, and I didn't do it that summer after the trip. Then the summer after that, I grew a pair, and I invited him to come like have dinner with my family. Message in a bottle boy. I invited him over for dinner about a year and a half after he found my message in a bottle. He drives 5 hours through the weekend traffic, shows up in board shorts and barefoot with his blonde best friend. We were both super tan, surfery. The boy who opened my message in a bottle had like kind of sun-kissed brown hair. Like, this was the real life John B and JJ, for real. They like shucked the corn for my family dinner, met my parents, met my grandpa, brought me a t-shirt with the name of his boat, the one that he found the bottle on. He told us that that day that he found the bottle, he had actually suggested to his captain that they go off course that day. And that's when he found it. At this point, I'm still only 17, he's like 19, and I'm not fully grasping how crazy this story is. We take pictures, and then we say goodbye, and he goes back to Cape Hatteras, like where he's born and raised. And we've kind of kept in touch ever since via social media, but now it's been 7 years. I'm 25, and I think he must be 27. I haven't been able to come back to my beach house here in the Outer Banks for years now because of my various different jobs, and now I'm able to come. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, we're going to be in the Outer Banks. He still is a charter fisherman, so he takes people out on boats to catch fish, like as experiences, and that's something my mom has always wanted to do. So we booked it with him, and tomorrow he's taking us out on his boat, and he's going to show us shipwrecks, and we're going to do some fishing and all that stuff. But obviously it's been like 7 years since I've seen him, and I've only met him face to face for like a couple of hours. I feel so bad for him because it's going to be me, my sister, my mom, my grandma, my mom's best girlfriend, and her daughter. Like, it's all girls and then him. And if I see a fish, I'm gonna be like, ah! So my mom thrifted this little bottle, and she's gonna put like we're gonna put a thank you note in it. We're gonna empty it out and put his thank you note, because the plot of this story thickens. So his work had like taken my bottle and my message, and they had like framed it, put it on display in their office. One day they come in and it's stolen, like it's gone. Now we have no proof other than the photos that this even happened.
Am I the asshole for manipulating my best friend into breaking up with her boyfriend because I like him? My best friend and I have known each other for about 3 years. Now, there has always been jealousy between us. We're very competitive because we're both models, and we're always trying to one-up each other with the jobs we get. Luckily, we both do pretty well. We both modeled for Kylie Cosmetics, and we both have OFs. If you know, you know. When it comes to men, we both tend to go for the same type of guy. And yes, he's always a little bit toxic and a little bit abusive. Usually we date rappers, influencers, athletes, actors, or models. And I can guarantee these men are always insecure, which is why they become so toxic. Well, this time around, my bestie decided to start dating a regular guy. He works at an office and he's not toxic at all. In fact, he's got money, stability, doesn't have any mental health issues. Obviously, seeing the fact that she got with somebody who was healthy made me feel like I wasn't doing enough. And after meeting this guy, I realized just how good he is. flaws. He's also pretty attractive. I knew that their relationship would not be good for me. I became extremely envious. I was angry at her all the time. That's when I started making up lies about him to my best friend. Told her that he would stare at me a lot and that it made me uncomfortable. And when I told her this, she went crazy on him. She actually confronted him in front of me. Trust me, I wasn't expecting her to do that, but he went out of his way to apologize to me and told me that he didn't mean to make me uncomfortable. And he said that if he even stared at me, it was probably a mistake. Y'all, I know he didn't stare at me. I was lying, but he still apologized to me. This is when I realized just how good a guy he is, and this made me want him even more. I was angrier and more jealous than ever. My envy levels were through the roof. Every time they went out on a date, I would try to sabotage it somehow. I'd go over to her house to help her get ready and randomly start doing her makeup and force her to be late. One time I even pretended to drop a glass of water and I wet her hair just so that she would be late to the date. And it started working. They began fighting and she would tell him that he had no patience with her and he started calling her flaky. This is when I had to go to Instagram. I made an account and pretended to be another girl. I started messaging him but he wasn't replying. What I did next is bad. I spent 2 weeks creating this fake account. I found a random Brazilian model online and I basically stole all her Instagram pictures. I went ahead and made the account and started posting every single day, multiple times a day. And I even started posting on the stories, like stealing her pictures and pretending it was uploaded from that day. I was really good at it. I started messaging him, but nothing. Eventually, I replied to one of his stories and he did end up seeing that one, but he didn't reply. So I knew I had to take it a step further. I know that he's in financing, so I reached out to him with a question about finance. This is when he replied. He offered to give me a free consultation online. Instead of saying yes to that right away, I started asking him questions and he was answering. But eventually I asked him what city he was living in and if he wanted to hang out. This is when he politely said that he would go out with me, but that he has a girlfriend and that nothing could happen. Told him I was new in town and that I needed friends. He sent me a list of restaurants that I could go to. I mean, how nice is he? But still, he kept it really professional. So I took all of the evidence and I went to my best friend. She hit the roof. She completely believed everything I said. It only took me 2 hours to convince her to leave him. Once I convinced my best friend to break up with her boyfriend because I wanted him, everything was easy. I showed her the Instagram DMs, which weren't really that bad, but she still got really mad at him. She even thanked me for going out of my way to prove that he was a lying cheater. According to her, the fact that he even would message his girl back shows that he had an intention to speak to her, even though he didn't actually agree to hang out with her. And I have to agree with that. She ended up breaking up with him that very same day. Then he messaged me asking if I could try to help him get back with her. Of course I said no, but now my goal is to try to get with him. I feel like this is going to be really hard because he's such a good guy, and also I need to keep it secret from my best friend. But I want a man like this, someone loyal and kind. I actually ended up telling my mom about my plan and she tells me not to do it. I know that you guys are probably going to tell me not to do it, but where am I going to find a man like this? Everyone I meet is either an actor or a stupid rapper. Sure, they have money, they're always toxic and abusive. I'm sick of getting ghosted. What should I do? Or should I just leave him alone?
This is the story time of how I got love bombed again. I was talking with one of my best friends the other day and she was like, how do you just like constantly get love bombed? And it really had me thinking, how the fuck do I constantly get love bombed? Because it literally happens all the time and I'm like so unaware. But now when I'm out of the situation, I can like look back and be like, oh, that's why I got love bombed. I've said it a million times. I think I'm the most amazing thing that's ever walked this earth. And a part of that confidence / delusion is when I go on dates and they're like, you literally are the most amazing person ever. I'm like, fuck yeah, I am. Instead of taking a step back and being like, wait, this is a sign of love bombing. I'm not an expert or like a therapist, but these are just some signs that I've realized each time I've been love bombed and like how it kind of happens. All of the things I'm gonna name happen within 3 weeks. Like the relationship starts and ended within 3 weeks. You'll have your first date and then after your first date, he'll be like blowing up your phone to see you again. Like that's what happened with me. He was like, let's like see each other again. And within our first date to our second date, like it was a day in between our first and second date. The one thing that's really hard to realize, because when you are getting love bombed, it honestly feels like you've met your soulmate. You're like, oh my God, like I met the one, like, cause you're getting love bombed. It's hard to tell whether you're getting love bombed or like, hey, I've met the one. But love bombing like typically comes from like a narcissist or someone with like a behavioral issue. So and you'll figure out later on whether it's like excitement or it's like love bombing. Because I mix up the two obviously all the time where I'm like, oh my God, it's just like excitement. Like I met my fucking soulmate. Like duh, obviously he thinks I'm amazing and wants to see me right after the first date where it's like, no, take a pause. It shouldn't be, things should not be moving that quickly. Within 2 weeks of me knowing this person, he was like, what's your love language? Like, what is it? And then I would, because mine's gift giving or like gift receiving, obviously. Also like quality time. So he would act on those and like make sure he was doing all those things, which sounds really sweet. But like 2 weeks in, it should just like, it should go a little bit slower. The whole time I did have a feeling like in the back of my stomach, back of my head where I'm like, okay, like this is moving super quickly. Like I do want to slow it down simply because like I haven't been dating for a while and I just had a weird feeling. I was like, I don't know, like this just is like moving super quickly, but it's my soulmate, so it should be. Within like 2 weeks of knowing someone, they're like, what's your love language? And then they're like buying you gifts, like doing that whole thing. And it's like, I was just telling you my love language, so like maybe like 2 months down the road, like you know what the fuck my love language is. Now I have been love bombed so much that if I receive another red fucking rose, I'm done with it. Like I've been love bombed, I can count on my 3 fucking times, and every time it's the same thing. Within the first 2 weeks I'm getting like 50 red roses and things like that. I don't want to see a red rose in my life ever again. But like, yeah, excessive gift giving is a sign of love bombing. Also, moving the relationship wildly quick. Within 2 weeks, it's like, he was like, I'm looking for a relationship. And like, are you seeing other people? And I was like, no. And yeah, I guess like I'm also looking for a relationship, like, which I am. But when I say I'm looking for a relationship, that means I'm going to have to build with you. It's going to take me like 2, 3, 5 months maybe to even like, which is like a normal amount of fucking time to grow and understand somebody to get in a relationship with them. But when you're getting love bombed, they want it to move super quickly because normally it's just like a manipulation tactic. Like super quickly, he's like, well, I'm looking for that. I'm like, I agree. Like I'm also looking for a relationship, not fucking tomorrow, but like I would like to work towards that with you as well. But that's going to take like a while. But to have that conversation within like 2 weeks is insane. It's great to be on the same page as that person, but then to be like, all right, well, we're not fucking anybody else and we're not doing all those things. It's like, that's not really healthy. But then again, for me, I'm like, but he is my soulmate. And it's like, Livy, maybe he's fucking not and he's just love bombing you. Then the next sign is like when they're telling your friends and family about you and they like want you to meet them. For instance, he was like, I told my dad about you. Like I told all my friends about you. And I'm like, oh, that's so fine. Like, cool. And we're like a week and a half in. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, what'd you say? And he's like, that I really like you and that I'm nervous. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, valid. I would be nervous too. Just a sign of like rushing things super quickly is a big sign of love bombing. Also, telling you what you can and can't do when you're not fucking committed to that person. Like, hey, like I don't like, there's a difference between respect and boundaries and like being love bombed, so keep that in mind. Also then being like, you're so amazing, I've never met anyone like you, like feeding everything that you want to hear. Like a million signs of love bombing and like Google it. But the one thing I really want to talk about is like the aftermath of love bombing, because it's really fucking hard to deal with. After getting love bombed, you're like, wait, this person, I swear to God, like was my soulmate. Like they're basically convincing you of all of these things. So when they get up and they go, because you're either not doing what they want or because they like want to go to someone who's a little bit more, it's like a manipulation tactic, someone else that they can fucking manipulate. It has you sitting there like, wait, what the fuck did I do wrong? Like what was that? But you said your family this, all the gifts, all this, like what the fuck was that? And it makes it so much harder to get over that person because you're like, I'm so confused. Like we were just on such good terms, like what the fuck was, and then just like flips like a dime. That's fucked up. And you're probably sitting there like, I would never do that to him. I would never do that to him. Yeah, because you're not a narcissist and you're not going to love bomb people. But I think it's important to realize that like, it's not you. You're not the problem. You were just sold a dream and then it was just taken the fuck away from you and you were just love bombed. So it's not your fault whatsoever. Like you did nothing wrong. You just like fucked with a narcissist. Or someone who just has like issues. But they call love bombing because it honestly feels like a bomb, and that'll probably be like what it feels like a little bit, where it was like you just got bombed with all these amazing things and then either it ends or it leads to like a very narcissistic relationship. Like that person's like a narcissist and it's just a very unhealthy relationship. But when you're looking for a relationship or building for a relationship, I've realized that like quickness isn't always a sign of like you met your soulmate, because I'm definitely the bitch that's like, that is my man, it's like, where's my ring, babe? And it's like, take a step back, bitch. Healthy relationships take time, like 2 weeks, relax. Also, they will make you feel like you're the problem 99% of the time, and they will absolutely never take accountability, so don't count on it. That's just a little bit of my experience with love bombing. I'm sure I didn't like explain it 100% correctly. Those are just some things that I've like realized and noticed like when I've been love bombed. I don't have my PhD, so not a doctor, but those are just some things I've learned. Personal experience.
Story time. Is blood really thicker than water? Metaphorically speaking, of course. So a little background information. I was 16 years old and I was in 10th grade. And I had just started dating this guy that my friends introduced me to. He was extremely attractive, really smart, and really kind. Literally had all the traits a girl could want in a boyfriend. So him and I are talking for a while, and then we start dating, and we were amazing together. And my sister had just came back home from teaching in Thailand. Surprisingly, her and I got super close because we always used to fight with each other. And now we were inseparable. The only issue was she was 25 years old acting like a child. She always wanted to be at my boyfriend's house with him and his family. Weird, I know. Anyway, so she was always over there with them, and I thought that maybe she was just lonely. Wrong, of course. Now, of course, like any other relationship, mine wasn't perfect, but my boyfriend and I started having more problems than usual when my sister showed up. He was being super weird, and all the signs pointed to him cheating on me. So like I said, my sister started spending more time at my boyfriend's house. I thought that she was lonely, but then my boyfriend started acting weird, and all the signs pointed to him cheating on me. But I ignored it because I thought that him and I were in love like in the movies. And also, if I broke up with him, it would be like breaking up with his family because I loved them like my own. Fast forward, his sister ends up getting married, and my sister and I were invited to the wedding. Fast forward, everybody gets drunk. We end up spending the night at his cousin's house, and something was off with my boyfriend. He wasn't really talking to me. He wouldn't touch me. He pretty much acted like he was done with me. Well, then there's my sister who was flirting and touching him like it was normal. Fast forward a month, I asked my sister if anything happened between them, and she goes, I think we slept together. So I confronted him about it, and he just laughs and he's like, it wasn't that serious. So I end up breaking up with him, and then I start finding unhealthy ways to cope, aka drinking, and eventually I got so lonely to the point where I forgave my sister, and then I started seeing this other guy, and he was amazing, and then my sister started begging to hang out with us. Now, of course, you would have thought that I learned from the first time, but I did not. I just completely ignored the signs that God gave me that she was a bad person. Okay, I guess not a bad person, she just didn't give a fuck about my feelings. Well, the one weekend his parents went away and they needed him to house sit, so he invited me over to house sit with him, and then guess who tags along? My sister. I mean, I guess I could have told her that she couldn't come, but at the same time, I was trying to be a forgiving person, okay? And I thought that she wouldn't do this shit to me again. Well, I was wrong, because on the last night of house sitting, we all decided that we were gonna get drunk, and my sister made sure that I got more effed up than everybody else. I ended up actually getting alcohol poisoning, and I almost died, but she didn't care. She was too focused on sleeping with the new guy. The worst part of this is they started dating, and my mom was on her side. It's been 3 years, and I'm still trying to forgive her and my family.
Let's get ready together while I tell you exactly what it feels like to be hit by a car. I thought some of you might be interested to know how it feels because, you know, the phrase, I feel like I just got hit by a car, is so popular. I guess I'm one of the few people in the world that has gotten hit by a car going like 70 miles per hour and lived to tell the tale. So I was hit by a car while I was on a bike with my husband 3 years ago. He was running from the cops and he just slammed right into us, and he didn't even stop. And shockingly, my husband and I both survived. I shattered my femur and my hip, and my husband broke his tibia. But lucky for my husband, he actually lost consciousness. He doesn't really remember the immediate aftermath. Well, I remember very vividly flying through the air and landing on the ground on my back and not feeling a single thing. And I knew in my head that I was very injured because my left leg was laying over my right shoulder across my body. And the fact that I didn't feel anything just made me think that I was definitely paralyzed. Later I found out that's because your body goes into so much shock right when something traumatic like that happens. I feel like the movies do a pretty good job at portraying the mental state you feel after something really traumatizing happens. And there's that ringing sound, and all the sounds of people screaming are like very muffled, and then you just see the person like in a state of shock. There's just like chaos going on around them, but it just feels like it's just them in the whole world. That's how I would describe it pretty exactly. And I actually have video right when we got hit because a man pulled out his phone and started filming everything just for evidence purposes. I'm just laying on the ground. It doesn't even look like I'm freaking out. I knew if I let myself get to a point of hysteria about what just happened. But when the paramedics started picking me up and loading me onto the stretcher, that's when all of the pain hit me. Then I had pain for months and months and months and months. Also, because of the blood clot that I got, I had to get off of my hormonal birth control pills. I got pregnant 4 months later, and my son would not be here today if we did not get hit by that car. So God can really bring beauty and joy out of the worst situations.
But yeah, highly recommend not getting hit by a car. And maybe don't say that you feel like you got hit by a car around someone who was actually hit by a car.
My husband has been cheating on me since November. I talked to the other woman yesterday. My husband, 28 male, and I, 24 female, have been married for about a year. We've been together for 6 years in total, and he moved states about a year into our relationship to be with me in my hometown. Before Christmas time, I noticed a missing sum of money from our joint account and asked him about it. He said he bought something from a friend and I let it go. On Christmas, we went to his family's house, and he insisted he wanted to go out for guys' night and leave me there. When we got back that night, he was very serious and talked to me about how he almost did something that would have disappointed everyone and rescinded his personal growth, but framed it as potential substance use. I asked him for marriage counseling because I felt insane for thinking this amazing man could be carrying on behind my back. On our way home, I found the text messages between him and his AP, but thought it was purely emotional and they hadn't met in person. He agreed to end things and move forward to repair our relationship. I found out he'd still been in contact with her on my birthday about 3 months later, and again, he said he'd end things. After this, I blocked her on his phone, and when she reached out again, he sat me down and we discussed it. I was so proud of him for being open with me. I was disappointed in myself for even having blocked her behind his back, but he said he'd keep her blocked and what's done is done. It turns out that he told her I'd blocked her because I was jealous, but since we were allegedly in an open marriage, it shouldn't have mattered. When I found out on my birthday, I told him that if it happens again, that was it. He'd need to leave. I pay the bulk of our bills due to income differences and our home's in my name, which I now see may have been emasculating for him. Things had seemed great in our relationship since. It felt like we were both making progress in the right direction and actively exerting effort for the good of our relationship. My husband has been in no contact with his family for nearly the entirety of our relationship, and over the past weekend he went to visit his entire extended family. He said it made him so happy and proud to bring me around everyone and see us love each other. I found out yesterday when I finally reached out to the AP that he'd not only been continuously in contact with his AP, but things were much more serious than I could have ever anticipated. He reached out through other mutual connections to get in contact with this woman. He told her we have an open marriage, and I found out that the guy's night he had at Christmas was actually a date with her. We saw each other. I waved them goodbye. They didn't sleep with each other, but that doesn't change what happened. My husband and I sat down yesterday and talked after I tried to stand by my boundary of separating. I just couldn't do it. For reference, we live in the southeastern US, and when I mentioned the boundary, he started booking a flight to Alaska. I love this man and I've built a home with him. We both had turbulent childhoods, and while it's not an excuse, I just couldn't bring myself to leave him without a home. Where do we go from here? When we talked, he said that my separation boundary made him feel like I'd already abandoned him, but I never thought it would actually reach this point. Not only that, but I couldn't even follow through. I can't give up, and he seems to think I already did. If you've been through anything remotely similar, please give me some advice if you have any. Please ask me any questions you have and I'll respond. Oh! Could I be wrong if I gave my dentist a written statement to help defend him against my friend who was trying to sue him? I, 55 female, have a friend Jean of similar age. She's not what I'd call a close friend, but I've known her for a long time. She's the type of person who always thinks she's right and won't back down easily from anything. A few months ago, she had a toothache and asked me which dentist I used. My dentist is so amazing, so I recommended him. She has a dental phobia and asked me to go with her to her appointment. He was lovely to her. Spent a long time talking to her, explaining everything. Put her at ease. She had a big abscess under one of her back teeth. He said it either needed a root canal and a crown or extracting. The root canal/crown would be best part of $1,000 total, and he was really clear to her that it was a big abscess and there was no guarantee the root canal would work. He actually said the odds were 50-50 and it might be better to extract the tooth and put the money towards an implant or a bridge instead. He said he could offer no form of guarantee or refund if problems happened. He was clear in what he said, and I know she heard him and understood that the odds weren't great. She decided to go ahead with the treatment. I went with her to one of her further appointments, but not all of them. Fast forward a few months. Everything was okay initially after the root canal and crown, but then she got another infection. She had antibiotics, but the problem persisted and she ended up having the tooth removed. She is livid. You think he was the worst person in the world from what she says about him. She wants to sue him and has been to a lawyer to get advice. She is claiming that she wasn't properly warned and that treatment may not work. Apparently the lawyer is confident she'll get a payout. He's told her that it'll be hard for him to prove he properly warned her and that dentists are insured for this stuff. They think his insurance will pay out because it won't be worth their her time to try and defend it. I'm really annoyed at her for this because I know she is lying about not being warned. I really like the dentist and feel awful for him that he faces legal action for this, and that I was the one who introduced her to him. I worry that it will reflect badly on me in his eyes when I see him in the future. I have argued with her about it because I witnessed him warning her, but she says it's none of my business. Her view is it doesn't hurt him because he'll have insurance. Like I said, she doesn't back down from things. I feel so strongly about this that I want to send a written statement to the dentist that he can use back against her. I would state that I witnessed the appointment when he warned her and that she clearly heard and understood what he said. I know that doing so, I would probably lose her as a friend, but to be honest, I don't care about that at this point. My husband thinks I should do it. He's never liked Jean. He describes her as a nightmare and thinks I'm best off without her as a friend. So, would I be the asshole if I did this?
Shit. Am I the asshole? My mom is an influencer. I am sick of being a part of it. I had a no photos hoodie printed for me and my little sister. I am a teenager and my mom is kind of famous on Instagram and blogging. She had a mommy blog all when I was growing up, and of course, me and my sister were always involved. It sucks because there's so much out there about us, and it's what's gonna come up when I'm looking for a job, when I'm dating, when anyone looks up my name. Yeah. I found a website that will print custom jackets, print all over the front and back and arms, and I ordered some hoodies that say a bunch of phrases all over them. No photos, no videos. I do not consent to being photographed. No means no. Respect my privacy. No cameras. No profiting off my image. It sounds silly, but it looks pretty sick actually. I got one for me and one for my 9-year-old sister, who started to not always want photos. And I guess the idea is that my mom can't take good looking pictures, even candid ones, with us in the hoodies, without them having a pretty strong message that we don't want to be in the photos. My mom was mad when they showed up, and really mad when I'm wearing mine. Like, she says she just wants pictures to remember my young years by. Bullshit. She won't post ones without asking. But I know that's a whole mess anyways. She always says that and then negotiates me into letting her post. Like, either by saying that's how she makes income, so if I want money for something to stop arguing about pictures, or posting without asking and then saying I thought it would be okay because your face wasn't visible, you're just in the background, etc. And I'm always like, no, you didn't think. If you thought at all, you'd remember what I had said. I want no new pictures of me or mentions of me online. Remove all pictures that include me that you've ever posted, and delete any writing that mentions me. I'm just so fed up and upset that my mom is mad at me for wearing my new hoodie every day. She's mad I won't take it off for any event and thinks it's inappropriate to wear certain things. I know it's really weird looking, but it feels like my only option. Edit to add a couple more things. She also says all the mentions of consent and no means no and this is my own body, sorry, forgot to mention that one earlier, imply something more inappropriate, and that it is really inappropriate to wear those words out in public. We've also fought about me wearing it to family events and school events with a generally dressier dress code because it looks like a, quote, gangster hoodie. I don't know what to say to that, but I don't agree. Am I the asshole for always wearing my no photos hoodie? No. I, 32 male, asked my wife, 30 female, if we could open the relationship. She agreed, and I'm feeling upset because although she's bisexual, she's only sleeping with men. 32 male, and my wife is 30 female. After 5 years of marriage, I felt like she had given me all she had to offer. Now, please don't judge me for saying that. She just had a very low drive, and I have a higher one. I figured opening the relationship would help out marriage and help me get my needs met. She originally said no, but after I explained to her the benefits, she said yes after a few days of asking. She seemed both excited at the possibility of a threesome. Now, where the problem lies is that my wife is bisexual, and yet the only people she's been sleeping with have been men. When asked about this, she said she only sleeps with people she clicks with, and they just happen to be men. When I told her my feelings about this, she said it's only fair because I'm sleeping with other women. While true, it makes me wonder if she's truly bisexual. When I asked her to also sleep with women, or I'd want to close the marriage again, she rolled her eyes and said no. One of the guys I fear is trying to seriously date her. He brings her flowers and food, pays for her nails, and never even acknowledges me when he's over. I feel like she's dismissing my feelings, and I'm getting frustrated. I want to close our marriage again. How to approach this?